Well, hey there, fantastic fourth and fifth graders. Today I'm going to show you how to draw a Southwestern inspired rainbow artwork. Now, this center image is of a cow skull, and behind our cow skull, I have drawn horizontal lines to break up the space. And then I filled each space with a line pattern. And then I colored those in with rainbow order colors, creating a really cool mixture of a little bit of Southwestern style. Now, in the Southwest of the United States, there's a lot of arid, dry areas like deserts, and there's often cow skulls that you'll see out there in the desert. And so I thought it'd be cool to do a little bit of a Southwestern inspired artwork. I'll show you how to draw a cow skull, and then I'll show you how to break up the space behind it and add some cool patterns. All right, let's start. I'm going to have a nice clean sheet of paper. I'm going to have my paper going horizontal, just because I want to try and get a nice, tall, big cow skull. I'm going to start with a pencil, and I'm going to start right in the middle of the paper. And what we're going to do first is draw that center line, the center line that goes right down the middle of the cow skull. All right, let's do this. Your center line does not have to be perfect, but it's going to have like a little bit of wiggle waggle in there. It's totally cool if it doesn't look like mine. And then I'm going to start right at the top. I'm going to do a curved line down. And then on the other side, I'm going to do a curved line down. I didn't go all the way down. It's just maybe, I don't know, maybe an inch, inch and a half, inch and a quarter. Now what we're going to do is we're going to curve out and back in. So over here, I'm going to start off where I left. I'm going to curve it out and then back in. And do the same on the other side. Curve it out and back in. So skulls are often symmetrical, the same on both sides. That's why I'm doing one side and then doing the other. Now, I'm going to take and start my line right back here. I'm going to curve it going in close to my center line. So I'm going to curve it in, and then I'm going to curve a little at the bottom and bring it back up to touch that middle line that we drew earlier. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to curve it slightly in and then curve it back up and touch the center line there. Cool. Now what we're going to do is draw some little eye sockets. So right underneath this bump right here, I'm going to make a U shape. Just like that. Do the same thing on this side. I'm going to draw a U shape. Now, before I go any further, I got to draw the little bottom part of our skull. See that right there? That's what I'm going to draw next. So, to do that, I'm going to start right here, not at the very bottom on this side of the skull, just a little bit above. I'm going to do a little curve and bring it back in. Do the same thing on this side. Curve and bring it back in. And then we can finish our eye socket. So right at the bottom of my U, I'm going to make almost like an echo line. I'm going to follow this curve, but I'm not going to touch this line with my line. I'm going to curve it down and in. So I'm going to stop right there. And you're going to do the same on this side. Starting right at the bottom, I'm going to follow the other curve of the skull and bring it on in. Now, that's pretty much the whole skull except for those horns. So to draw the horns, I'm going to start right here, not at the very top, middle, but just slightly down to the side. And I'm going to curve it up a little, curve it down, and then I'm going to bring it up, just like that. Let's do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to do a little curve it up, bring it all the way up. And then I'm going to do a little curve at the top, little curve at the top. Now, skull horns, you'll notice skinny at the tip, wide at the bottom. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to make a curve that goes all the way to the skull. See that? It starts off skinny and it gets wide at the base of the horn. So I'm going to go ahead and curve that in and do the same thing on this side. Boom. It's all right if they're not perfectly symmetrical because cows, just like we, are organic creatures. And we are pretty darn symmetrical, but not perfectly. All right, so that is the cow skull. Pretty cool, right? And if you want to, you can add some texture lines to your horns, like that. I like to make my texture lines kind of curve with the horn. And then what we can do is our background. So the background is also Southwestern inspired. There are blankets that are often found in that area that have these beautiful patterns using lines and shapes. So you'll see I just kind of chose some of my favorite lines and shapes and I just made a pattern using those. So what we have to do first, though, is break up our space into bands or little horizontal sections. So I'm going to turn my page so I can make a nice straight line. And I'm going to go ahead and start right here. I'm going to draw a line that goes all the way from one side of the paper to the other. And then I'm going to make a space because I need enough room to draw a pattern. And I'm going to draw another horizontal line. Now, I'm not going to draw through my skull or my horns. I'm actually going to pick my pencil up and go behind and over. Boom, just like that. And then I'm going to make another line. I'm going to pretend it's going. Boom. So you can either do this freehand like I am, or if you want to, if you have a ruler at home, grab one of those, lay it across. If you don't have a ruler, guess what? You can make your own with a piece of paper. You can take paper, fold it again, and then look at, I made my own straight edge. Boom. So if you want to, you can make a space, and then trace, stop, trace. Look at that beautiful straight line. Oh gosh, that really makes my other lines look wonky. Hey, that's all right. It just adds some variety to my artwork. And variety always makes things more interesting. There. Wow, that actually made things go really fast too. All right, so now I've got some spaces going on behind my cow skull. And now I can go ahead and pick a pattern to do in each space. So maybe for this one, I'm going to do 3 lines straight together. Maybe in this one, I'm going to do a zigzag line. Zoop. And then maybe down here, I'll do circles. And remember, it's a pattern, so it's got to repeat over and over and over again. And then here, let's see, maybe what I can do is just a straight line, nice and evenly spaced. And actually, if you want to, you can add a little extra to your pattern. Sometimes you can start with one pattern, and it can be a simple one. It's kind of fun to use your imagination and see what else could you add to your pattern to make it a little more interesting. Make it a little more complex. Like this triangle one, or I'm sorry, this zigzag line I have here. You can actually add a little bit of something in the space between. And that took my, it was an okay looking zigzag pattern. But now it kind of created this cooler, more interesting pattern. Hey, maybe I should do that with this one too. What could I add to this? Maybe I'll borrow an idea from that other pattern. I'll add a little straight line to this. Yeah, I like that. And then maybe I'll do a wavy line. Oh, this is a little tricky. Wavy. I got to pretend like it's going behind the skull. Wavy, wavy, wavy. See how I'm using my pencil to kind of pretend to draw? Well, this is a challenge. I like it. I was just talking to my second and third graders in their video about challenging yourself as an artist. And it's when we do those hard things where we actually grow and become stronger, better artists. So doing challenging things like making your patterns more challenging, using that noggin of yours to think about what more could you add, that will help you to become a stronger, more competent, capable artist. All right, let's finish this up. Patterns, let's see. Maybe I'll do a shape. I'll do some squares. And I gotta use that imagination to draw behind and around my cow skull. And then the last one, I'm gonna do a little zigzag. And then I'm going to do another zigzag underneath it. All right. So before I go any further, before I add my rainbow to the colors in the background, I'm going to use a black crayon, or if you have markers, colored pencils, highlighters, pretty much whatever tool you have. You can go ahead and use any tool you have. I'm going to use my black crayon. I'm going to add some emphasis to my cow skull. I'm going to trace over my pencil lines to emphasize. I'm going to make my cow skull stand out because my patterns in the background are pretty jazzy, right? They catch the eye. And I want my cow skull to really stand out too. So I'm going to take my black crayon. I'm going to trace over my cow skull. And I'm going to turn my paper so I can actually get those lines traced as neatly, carefully as possible. There we go. And then I'm going to trace my texture lines on the horns also. And you'll notice on my example, I also traced the dividing horizontal lines for my background. You can also do that too. I did not trace over the pencil lines with black though for my patterns. That I reserved for my rainbow order. So you'll see I started at the top and I traced over my pattern lines with the first color of the rainbow, which is red. And then I did orange, yellow, green, blue. I actually had an indigo in my crayon box, so I went for it. I went for indigo and then violet. Actually, I'm sorry, this is a blue violet. And this is my violet. And then I did a red violet because I found it in my crayon box after I started. And I was like, oh, that can go right after my violet. So then I would start back over if I had more room. So you artists are going to start at the top. You're going to start with the first color in the rainbow, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. And if you want to, you can also color in the cow skull, but I kind of liked him plain Jane. You know, as an alternative, you could trace over your patterns with black and then color your background the rainbow order colors. So after you're all done your artwork, it could be kind of cool because I know that there's been a lot of rainbow hunts going on. Go ahead and hang your artwork up in your window and definitely share it with me. I can't wait to see what you artists create. Have fun, and I'll see you next time.